Oh boy, what an interesting day it was at the 49ers facility coming off the players' day off on Thursday. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen my instant post-practice report coming off the field, but this is going to expand further into that, give you some video highlights from practice as the 49ers offense at long last struck back. And these practices are getting more and more intense, and they're starting to replicate game situations to a greater degree. They have what we call move the ball periods, where as opposed to the first several camp practices, the chain gang is actually moving along with the football. So the 49ers aren't just going pre-scripted plays, 2 or 3 plays at a time for each unit. They put that first unit with Trey Lance and all those guys out there, and they start marching the field, and they're starting to actually work with game-like situations. So that's lent itself to more competitiveness. And today, I think that the offense, which is over the course of the first 7 or 8 days of camp, I think they've installed more and more route trees and offensive concepts. And I think at this point now they're ready to take it to the defense in a way, maybe not in a way that the defense took it to them throughout the first few practices, but they're ready to, I think, at least even the score. And that's what we saw on the practice field on Friday. So let's get to it. Let's talk about this. The 49ers offense struck back on Friday. What's my jersey doing over there? I think that my little camo filter, it's called, is blurring it out and bringing it back into focus. Weird stuff today with the technology. Maybe it's the lighting in the room, but at least you get to look at the jersey. It's my lucky number, number 17. It's not an Emmanuel Sanders jersey. It is just a different 49ers jersey with my family's lucky number, number 17. Thought it'd be cool to dress up the show with a jersey just to give some color pop over there. Anyway, this is the article from today. Jersey will stop bothering us. We have 49ers camp report. Trey Lance, Deebo Samuel, and the offense strike back. Why don't we put this in the chat section? Go ahead, check this out on The Athletic. I just wrote this over at the facility. The link is there. You can go ahead and check that out. Interesting stuff indeed from the offense, because the move the ball sessions are what Kyle Shanahan likes to call real football. This is where you actually get to simulate not only the dynamics and the mechanics of a game and the rhythm there, but also the fatigue factor is going to be there, right? When you're just running your standard, when you're just running the standard pre-scripted practice portions, it's only going to be 3 plays at a time, maybe 4. And football is a highly anaerobic sport where you're getting after it. You're in a situation where you expend a ton of energy, and it's all kind of condensed into the 5 to 10 seconds of a play. And then you go back to the huddle, you reset, you go again. When you're running at tempo, you're going to raise the heart rate even more. But that energy that's just packed into those 5 to 10 seconds, that'll exhaust players. There's a reason why another fairly anaerobic sport like hockey, why those line shifts are happening so often. Well, football doesn't have to change lines because they're not going continuously. But once they start tacking on plays, and once they start putting on those game situations, when guys are out there for 5+ plays, they're going to get tired. There's going to be a different level of training that's needed to uphold the effort for that longer period of time than just the standard pre-scripted practice portion. So the move the ball period, we call it real football. That's what Kyle Shanahan says. And we got to see that from the 49ers at practice today. So what I thought was really funny today was that the defense has obviously had a swagger for the 49ers over the early part of this training camp. And that swagger, I mean, we talk about the Fred Warner, Brandon Ayuk fight. Well, I would say that the defense has had a brashness to it on top of its dominance, right? So Kyle Shanahan obviously has acknowledged the brashness. So have we. It's been well documented. But the defense, in a way, crossed the line the other day when Fred Warner put Marcus Johnson into the concussion protocol. That was news that I discussed this morning. And before Friday's practice, Kyle Shanahan even addressed that. He said, I think that we have to play on the correct side of the line. There is a line in a violent game like football. It's unique. You got to get yourself amped up. I love the intensity. But when we had a hit that was unnecessary the other day, that put somebody in the concussion protocol, I think we're on the wrong side of the line. So Kyle Shanahan straight up said that Fred Warner's hit was unnecessary. Kyle Shanahan actually chimed in on the mechanics and the dynamics behind the two brawls. And obviously Shanahan didn't like the brawling either, but the root cause of it was an unnecessary hit, at least that second one. So the defense, with all its brashness, with all its bravado, with the way that it's controlled the proceedings over the first portion of this training camp, did cross a line on Tuesday. And that line is going to be one that the 49ers probably, try to walk like a tightrope moving forward. Great 49ers teams of the past, like the 94 team where Gary Plummer and Ken Norton Jr. would hit guys late, and Gary Plummer and William Floyd would get into fights. I mean, the iron did sharpen the iron with those teams, and the 49ers are aiming for the same balance with this team. But when you're aiming for balance, you have to find balance. And so far throughout several practices, the defense had won so often that I don't think that we quite had balance. We were talking about the defense being really good, and we were saying, oh, well, okay, since the defense is in such a dominant kind of mode, maybe the 49ers offense will do better when they face worse competition. But that's, you can't really just go into the season hoping that that's going to be the case. You want to see a consistent pulse from the offensive side of the ball, especially with a youngish offensive line. It's definitely a new offensive line, new look offensive line on the interior, and a young 22-year-old quarterback. You want to see some progress over practice in training camp. And this is where we move to the move the ball periods today at practice. These are exciting portions of the dog days of summer. The players love moving to something that more closely resembles game action. And the defense had been feeling itself, right? After 7 to 8 practices of controlling the flow, these guys, they're blasting the music on the loudspeaker. These guys were dancing on the sideline as the first unit defense got ready to take that first snap of the move the ball period. Well, guess what happened in the move the ball period to begin? Handoff from Trey Lance to Elijah Mitchell, ruptures through the left side of the line. Boom, untouched, 85-yard touchdown on the first play of the move the ball period. And I kid you not, it was like clockwork. The dancing that had been going on all the way up to the snap on the defensive sideline stopped, and Trent Williams, who had hoped open up that hole on the left side, he's the one that started dancing. The music continued, the defense stopped dancing, and Trent Williams was there dancing with the rest of the offense to that same music as Elijah Mitchell was sprinting toward the end zone. So the 49ers got back on track offensively, I thought, with that one play, just kind of changed the tone, because then the offense just started moving the chains, and this was the move the ball period. And, Kyle Shanahan even tried to put the offense at a disadvantage. He even had all 3 units take an automatic holding penalty, even though holding didn't happen, just so they would have to face a 1st and 20 from their own 5-yard line. And the 49ers and Shanahan called this the get back on track period. You have to find a way to get back on track, even though you're backed up against your own goalpost on 1st and 20. And every single time the 49ers picked up the chains and then some, with Trey Lance, with Nate Sudfeld, and then with Brock Purdy, they got the job done. Now, Lance's possession was interesting because on the 1st and 20, he ran behind Aaron Banks on a designed quarterback run, picked up 11 yards. And Aaron Banks talked after practice today, and he said, it was so matter of fact. I kind of enjoy Aaron Banks because he doesn't, give you any bullshit during these pressers. He just wants to, answer the questions, get out of there. No fluff, nothing. Some guys, you like the fluff, right? You want something to write about as far as quotes go, but some guys just have to mean business. And Aaron Banks means business. And somebody asked him about blocking in front of Trey Lance for those 11 yards. And he, his quote was awesome. It's at the bottom of my story. Maybe I need to take a look and read it out for you guys right here. He said, "I try to block my ass off to make sure he doesn't get hit." That's all Aaron Banks said. So, yeah, point taken. Good job, Aaron. You're blocking your ass off so that Trey Lance doesn't get hit. He didn't get hit, or he didn't get hit hard. He marched forward for that 11-yard gain, set the 49ers up on 2nd down. I forgot if they picked up a couple yards with a run, but then Trey connected with Deebo Samuel for about 11 yards on 3rd down to move the chains. So the get back on track period worked well for the 49ers. Offense, even though Shanahan gave it some manufactured obstacles, continued pushing forward on this day. And I thought that was very, very significant. Nate Sudfeld, this guy's short game has been on point. Sudfeld today opened 13 of 13, and he finished 14 of 16. I don't even know what his completion percentage for all of camp is. That's something I should probably look up here, which we'll do. By the way, Nice job, Mike. Trey Lance, the turning point at camp for the 49ers. Mike doing a smash up job with the thumbnail. Let's look at 49ers quarterbacks. Oops, we're going to the wrong one. Let's look at 49ers quarterbacks at 2022 training camp. Get this sucker open onto the sheet. So Sudfeld was 14 of 16, and his numbers throughout all of camp, he is now 67 of 90 for 74.4% completion percentage. That's good. The interception rate's still too high because he had that practice with 4. But outside of that one practice with 4 picks, Nate Sudfeld has been lights out. He's been what you want a potential backup quarterback to be, and he's going to be QB2 for the 49ers. There's no question about it. They're paying him $2 million guaranteed, but he's completing 74 to 75% of his passes. Today, not all of them were short passes. I mean, today on the 14 of 16 day, we saw a couple over the middle that were really impressive to Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings had a 20 to 25 yarder. That was kind of actually more down the far sideline, but it was definitely an intermediate toss. And then one intermediate over the middle, about 20 yards downfield, where Tarvarius Moore just popped Juwan Jennings. Clean hit, but Juwan held onto the ball. And I don't know, I talked about Juwan struggling a little bit over the past few days after a good start to camp. Juwan Jennings was back today, and that was good news for the 49ers. But my point with Sudfeld is a lot of people will say, oh, well, I mean, he's throwing a lot of checkdowns. He's throwing shorter slant passes. And yes, that's great. Thanks for pointing that out. But, I think that feeds into the overarching point. If the 49ers are going to have to rely on QB2 this year because Trey Lance is ever unavailable, they're going to need that quarterback to run probably a simplified version of the game plan, which, might be a lot of short passes. And even if they don't run a simplified version of the game plan, your bread and butter in any NFL system is the short to intermediate game. The long passes, I mean, that's icing on the cake. That's something that you could use to raise the ceiling of the offense. And I'm sure the 49ers want all their guys doing that when the opportunity's there. I'm sure that they want Trey Lance blowing the ceiling off whenever it's possible. But if you don't have the short to intermediate game, you're going to be in trouble. You're not going to move the sticks. It's going to cause you to be punting way too often. Offense is going to be way too boom or bust. We saw that in the first half against the Houston Texans with Trey Lance. He was missing some of those short throws. So it's important to hit on those short throws. And especially when you have QB2 and Nate Sudfeld, if he has to play for the 49ers this year, you're going to see a defense-heavy, special teams-heavy, run-heavy game plan. And to make that work, to provide the glue as the quarterback to bring all those pieces together, you have to hit on the short game. So the fact that Sudfeld's short game has been on point is nothing to disparage. It's something I think that is actually big news for the 49ers, significant news for this team moving forward. So here, let's talk about Trey Lance before I get back to Trey Lance's short game, because I think that's definitely something that, is a relative weakness for Trey Lance. That's something that he needs to work on shoring up. They're working on shoring up, but we do continually see signs that it is a little bit inconsistent. And that's something that I think the 49ers need to address before the season opener or as Trey Lance's career moves forward. I think it'll probably still be an issue during some of these games because he just is so relatively inexperienced. But that's something that does need to be hammered home. And it probably starts from a mechanical perspective. Lance's best pass today was an intermediate strike to Ray McCloud. This was not during move the ball. This was during the scripted team period portion. But Lance kind of moved away from some traffic, and he just threw a seed to Ray McCloud that led him in stride about 20 yards downfield. And because it led and hit McCloud in stride, he was able to take off with it. Big yak play. If you can hit those passes in Kyle's offense, it's going to be really, really hard to stop. So remember, everybody's going to be talking about the deep throws. I'm going to show you a few deep throws that Trey Lance worked on to Deebo Samuel here in a little bit. But if you can't hit the short to intermediate game, it's going to be over. That's what's going to make this offense tick. And I thought that was a really good pass today from Trey Lance, who went 8 for 12. So here's the summary. If Lance can nail down the short game, the 49ers can be really good. Why don't we watch a little bit of Lance from practice today? I'm going to put this up, make it a little bit bigger up on the screen. There's Trey Lance. I thought that, this was a good display of the leadership. The 49ers were moving to some formational work, and he's there rallying the troops, probably sensed maybe that the energy level wasn't quite where he wanted it to be. So Trey Lance put a little bit more pep in his step, got everybody together. Now you're going to have a look at the 49ers first team offensive line in front of him. Now, something disappointing is going to happen over the early course of this clip. And you'll see here in just a second when we get to it. But more than anything, I like to show the demeanor of the starting quarterback. That's why I take so many Trey Lance videos for you, so you can get a feel of how he interacts with his teammates. Because as the quarterback, you've got to be the CEO. You've got to bring everybody together. Let's look at Mike McGlinchey at what, 305, 310 pounds, looking good for the 49ers at right tackle. Right next to him, to the right, from your point of view, that's Spencer Burford. Look, he's simulating a pull block on that play. So they take the snap, and it's going to be a running play, obviously, there. And Burford starts sprinting off, trying to put some of that mobility on display for the 49ers. Now, that's Bobby Slowick, 49ers pass game coordinator, checking in with Trey Lance. Video yesterday, it's me and Matt Barrows interviewing Bobby Slowick with that red hat yesterday. Check it out. It's on the channel. So Slowick is putting in a pass play here. He's the pass game coordinator, putting in a pass play for the 49ers. And, you'll see what one of the issues, and I have to say it is a recurring issue with Trey Lance is, and it's going to come up here on this next pass attempt. This is now the second team offensive line. Jake Brendel was with the second team for this drill. Lance throws, and, it hits Deebo Samuel's left hand, but that throw's got to be more on the money. We could go back to it. I don't want to belabor this because there isn't a defense, but just the fundamentals have to be more consistent with Trey Lance. That throw's got to, hit him in stride. He shouldn't have to be reaching for that ball, especially with no defense. So that's the thing. That's, everybody's going to talk deep pass, deep pass, deep pass. I'm going to show deep passes after this clip. But if Trey Lance can nail down the short game, the 49ers can be damn good this year because we know they're going to have a running attack. We know they're going to have a defense. We think they're going to have a special teams. It is about nailing the short game to glue everything together offensively. And here's Lance working on that short game after he ran down to the other side of the field. It's boring, but it's necessary. You have to nail the short game in the National Football League to keep the line moving offensively. Now, just some more videos. Trey Lance going through his warm-ups. I'll take a look at a couple questions as we go through this video reel. Here, it could have been a better ball, but it has to be caught, of course, but it has to be a better ball is the point. In a throw like that, you're setting up Yak. There is no defense. It's a short pass. That needs to be a perfect ball. This is the NFL level. This is not North Dakota State. And, that's just one example. Trey Lance, today he missed one during the move the ball period that I don't have on video, but he sailed it over Jeff Wilson's head. You have to be accurate on those short passes in the National Football League because this is not college football. You're not going to have circus-like long completions happening on every single possession. Sometimes you have to keep the line moving with those short passes. Yes, you got to get those easy layups. We saw Lance miss one against Houston first half last year, Kyle Juszczyk, and that stalled the offense for a while. And then he started hitting the bigger plays in the second half. So we saw a boom and a bust offense for the 49ers. And what they're trying to do is limit the busts so it's more booms for Trey Lance moving forward. So you got to hit those easy layups. That short game is going to be so important for this football team moving forward. All right, so there's Brian Greasy on the right. Also have a video with him up on the channel from yesterday. Be sure to check those out. I saw that there weren't all too many viewers yesterday, so maybe you guys were also taking the day off. So make sure that you see the interviews with Slowick, Greasy, Chris Kasarik, all those guys. All right, here's Trey Lance throwing deep. Here's Deebo Samuel, and here's me almost getting run over. Almost, not quite. Deebo almost got me there, but I got out of the way. So this is after practice. Trey Lance getting some work in with the 49ers wideouts, two of them, Deebo Samuel and Ray McLeod. And Trey throws a pretty deep ball. This has never been an issue. It's like he's got easy power with that deep ball too. It doesn't take a lot of strain for him to whip it downfield a good 40 to 50 yards, as we're seeing in these videos. He also worked on snaps with Daniel Brunskill, who played a lot of first-team center today. He's rotating with Brendel. So here's some of that snap work and short passes to Deebo on the near side. So just wanted to show you some of that work that Trey Lance put in. But we'll play that first one to Deebo again here as soon as I get to the end of it. Lance and Brunskill talking. I don't know who's going to win that center battle, but something tells me that Brunskill, because Burford is taking control there, at least they're now at that right guard spot, something tells me that Daniel Brunskill has the leg up at center. He's already started 8 games there for the 49ers with a bum shoulder in 2020 and actually played pretty stabilizing football. All right, here's Debo almost running me over. I'm filming. I'm looking. I'm saying, oh, it's a good pass. Debo catches it. I'm like, oop, right now I better get out of the way. And I did. So it was all good. But it was all for the glory of the viewer, right? You guys want this video. You guys got this video. That's what it looked like. So we'll let some deep passes keep on playing. One more to Ray McLeod. Ray, of course, he's going to be a weapon for the 49ers this year. I think they're going to use him on offense a lot more than people realized during the signing. They thought that this was just going to be some kind of special team signing. I think it is more than that. All right, those of you just coming in, this is the article today, another camp report. Trey Lance, Debo Samuel, and the offense strike back. Not monumental. Let's put it could be an inflection point. We won't know until the story of this camp is fully written. But I think it's significant that the offense on the day that Kyle Shanahan, even talked about finding that balance, and he did say he cited, as far as motivation for that fight, he doesn't want the fight to happen, but he said, hey, that was an unnecessary hit, right, from Fred Warner on Marcus Johnson because it put him in the concussion protocol. So Shanahan, in a way, stood up for Brandon Ayuk in the offense today during his press conference before practice. And then the offense showed up and got some work done during the actual practice. So the link to that is in the chat section. Go ahead and check that out. That essentially is the summary of practice today. It was fun to see the 49ers offense get back on track. Those of you, just joining the channel right now, make sure you subscribe to The Athletic. Subscribe to this channel. And, here's another reminder. Follow along on Twitter. Lombardi himself is the handle. A lot of the information you're going to get is going to go to Twitter first or The Athletic first. So you got to be a member of both. And here's an unusual one. Why don't you join me on Instagram? The goal of this season is to blanket this 49ers run, which could be special. We don't know yet. It could be special on every single platform. And I'm going to put up some nice Instagram stories, some nice posts. So follow me on Instagram, Lombardi himself. Follow me on Twitter. Those are the 2 handles. Should be pretty easy to do right now. And of course, subscribe to this channel when you do have a chance. All right, why don't we take a look at, here's a good question. Is the article free? Technically, yes. You can get to that article through a free trial. And then you can cancel the free trial after, I think it's a month. No questions asked. It's really easy too. Here's the thing about The Athletic. It's going to cost you at most a cup of coffee a month. And it is the deepest 49ers coverage there is. Matt Barrows and I have it blanketed for you. So would love the support up there. Obviously, I come on to here for free for you guys. This takes a lot of time, but I love connecting with all the 49ers fans, just football enthusiasts. This is like a sports bar. We could sit here talking about football like it's the bar. I love doing this. And I would love sharing my work with you. So it'd be cool if you connected on an even deeper level with the work. All right, let's check it out. Let's see some questions right here. Pete Gorman says it'd be smart for Cleveland to trade for Jimmy because he only has 1 year left on his contract. That's all they need for him. Yeah, but if you do trade for him, you're probably not absorbing the contract as is because he doesn't have any guaranteed money on it. So you can, tack on more years. Maybe they're not guaranteed past this to reduce the cap hit because obviously Deshaun Watson would come back at some point. That's what we assume if he's suspended for a year, right? So, Tim Kawakami, who also works for us at The Athletic, I think he has a good theory. I think they should do a conditional trade, right? Because you're not going to know the Deshaun Watson suspension until maybe right before the season. And that's going to be too late. You need Garoppolo in the building now. So why don't, you trade for Jimmy and say if Deshaun is suspended for only 6 games, which is not going to happen because they're appealing, the NFL is, then we'll send you a 4th or 5th round pick. But if he's suspended for 12 or more games, you could set the parameters however you want. But if he's suspended for 12 or more, we'll send you a 3rd or a 2nd rounder. Well, why doesn't it escalate based on what Jimmy Garoppolo actually does this season? Because the pick is not going to come in and be used until the next draft anyway. So the 49ers don't need to know what it is right now. So depending, and the 49ers, I think, would be happy to make a trade like that, or should be, because right now it looks like the discipline is going to be severe for Deshaun Watson. Let's be real. The NFL ultimately decides this, right? The CBA, the players sign the CBA. They give Roger Goodell a lot of power. I don't care if he's delegating this to somebody outside of him. If the league wants a lot of time for Deshaun Watson in this suspension, the league's going to get it. They didn't listen to their independent arbitrator. Their arbitrator said 6 games, and NFL said, no, we're gonna appeal. No matter what you think about that process, it is what it is, and that means that Deshaun's probably going to get a lot more than 6 games. In that case, I think it'd probably be smart for the Browns with a good roster to arm themselves at quarterback. And, Tim has suggested a conditional trade like that, depending, the draft pick depends on how long the suspension is. And I don't think that's a bad idea at all, because right now it's going to be tough for anybody to set the parameters for the trade if we don't know what the appeal is going to look like exactly. That's why you go the conditional route. All right. Antonio Sosa. David, do you think Elijah Mitchell could be the type of dual threat back that Roger Craig and Ricky Watters were for the 49ers in this offense? I don't, Roger Craig was the first thousand guy, right, in NFL history. The 49ers have a way of making NFL history with dual threat running back / receivers. Roger Craig is your first thousand guy. And then if you count the playoffs, Deebo Samuel was your first 1,500 receiving, 500 rushing yard guy, right? Special back. Ricky Watters also special in his way to do both. Right? Steve Young, his biggest regret is not lobbying the front office to keep Ricky Watters past that 1994 season. That might have cost the 49ers 2 or 3 more Super Bowls, right? In 95, they were favored entering the playoffs. They kicked the Cowboys' ass with Elvis Grbac during the regular season, but then they lost to the Packers in the playoffs in 95 because they couldn't run the football. And if they still had Ricky Watters, they'd probably be able to run the football. So, Ricky Watters and Roger Craig, that's Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame. Let's put it that way. But that's really high praise, high company to keep. If Elijah Mitchell could turn into half of either of those 2 players, the 49ers will be in a good spot. Because, listen, this is a running back by committee offense. Kyle Shanahan's going to play a lot of backs. It's not going to just be one guy. This is not the 1980s or 1990s anymore. You have to have a rotation of dudes to make it work. The 49ers especially need to have that because they've been so beaten up there. So if Mitchell can approximate, part of those players' games, great. But it's going to be up to a whole committee of backs to get the job done for the 49ers. You don't know football says, I think if Roger Craig didn't fumble against the Giants, would he be in the Hall of Fame? Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's fair to Roger Craig, right? I think that he should still be in the Hall of Fame based on the illustrious career that he had. But think about it. If Craig doesn't fumble against the Giants in that championship game to end the 1990 season, the 49ers go to the Super Bowl. The 49ers almost certainly win the Super Bowl because the 49ers don't lose Super Bowls back. They didn't lose Super Bowls back in the day. Now they do. But they three-peat. They become the only team in NFL history to three-peat. And how do you keep the running back of the only team in NFL history to three-peat out of the Hall of Fame, especially if he's the first 1,000 guy in league history? So that was a really damaging fumble. It's too bad. Roger Craig's such a good guy. I hope he does get in because I think he deserves it. He made history. He's a pioneer. 1,000. That wasn't a thing until Roger Craig did it back in the mid 1980s for the San Francisco 49ers. So absolutely, I think that did cost him. The Packers loss still hurts. Yeah, tough for the 49ers. I agree. Roger Craig should be in the Hall of Fame for changing the position to what it became in the future. I mean, yeah, the 49ers now play with some of what, we talk about Shanahan being innovative and incorporating these positionless skill positions. It's so cool because it brings back so much of what really was pioneered in the Bill Walsh era of 49ers football. And Roger Craig was the one who was able to do that for the 49ers. Yeah, I think the 49ers, I think it's very likely they would have repeated. That's for sure. Lance's throwing motion still worries me. Drops his hand too low in his windup. It's not going as low as before. In fact, maybe I have the slow motion video. Why don't we pop this one up there? If I could find it. Some of this stuff I keep in a folder. And I might have it ready for you. The Lance slow-mo. We talked about last year in Lance's throwing motion. Yeah, here it is. All right, let's make this big. Last year, we talked about Trey Lance dipping the hand essentially below the belt. And yes, I agree that was too low. But there has been work done on the throwing motion, and you'll see it here. Look, that's not coming below the belt anymore. Last year, you could see I don't think you could see my cursor, but last year, it came down toward the towel. It was really, really low. So he has tightened the release for sure, but I could see why people here that's a good angle right there too. I could see why people are still a little concerned because it's not the quickest release, but it's tightened up from what it was last year. That ball stayed nice and high. That ball didn't come nearly as low. My issue with Lance is that there's still some inconsistency. I think it's lower in the second one right here than it is in the third one right here. I think this one's actually a little bit higher. It's a different angle, but I think that there's inconsistency in between the releases, and I think that might lend itself to some inaccuracy. And that's what I was talking about earlier on the short game. So it's all about reps, especially when bullets are flying, right? During those live game situations, you've got to get the reps. And when you have the reps, then you're going to start to see that consistency level out and the volatility go down. Consistency is important. Do I think that Coach Seifert will get in? I think he deserves to be in because I think that following up what Bill Walsh did was not as easy as people say it is. I mean, they turned around, went 14-2 in the 1989 season, Seifert's first year. They outscored opponents by 100 points in the playoffs. That's never been done in NFL history. The 49ers just rampaged throughout the 1989 season playoffs. And then obviously the three-peat bid that came up short because of Craig's fumble. That's another thing that probably would have already happened as far as the Hall of Fame induction goes. If not for that fumble, George Seifert would already be in. So he was able to perpetuate that dynasty throughout the 90s, which is no easy task. They had to reload that football team in 1991 because Plan B free agency meant that the 49ers lost Roger Craig. They lost Ronnie Lott. Then they started losing to the Cowboys in 92 and 93. And then they had to beat him in 94. And that was no easy task. And, George Seifert was at the helm there. And one of the things that George Seifert did is I think he was such a stoic personality on the sideline. And that's exactly what the 49ers needed in 94. When they got drubbed by the Eagles 40-8, week 5 of that season, and Steve Young was there lashing out at George Seifert because he didn't like getting pulled out of the game. That could have gotten really combustible really fast if George Seifert had reacted. And Seifert, he was just sitting there, arms crossed, didn't listen to Steve Young. And Steve Young to this day will credit George Seifert for not reacting. He didn't pour gasoline on that fire. And after that, the team congealed, right? Steve Young led that. They didn't lose again with the starters playing. They lost in week 17 with the starters not playing. But that team rallied around Steve Young, and George Seifert got out of the way. He let those superstars play. And sometimes that's a really hard thing to do. So I think that George Seifert knew how to manage personalities and did a really good job with the 49ers in the 1990s. Yep, Seifert controlled a lot of egos. All right. Just send Trey to the same guy who fixed Breeze. Tom House, I believe. Trey has been doing some stuff with Tom House. That towel drill, that's a Tom House drill that they were doing. So you just got to get the throwing motion tighter. The thing is, he has such a limited amount of in-game reps since high school. Only played one season at North Dakota State. So it's going to take some time for that consistency to really hammer home. And I think that's why it's so important for the 49ers to have that strong defense, to have that strong run game, to have a good special teams unit. And you have to play Trey at some point, right? Because you're not going to be able to hammer this home unless he gets those game reps. So it's a catch-22, and that's the balancing act that Kyle Shanahan is playing. Is Tarvarius Moore sneaking up on Hufanga? I don't know if he's sneaking up. I think they're openly competing. I think he's getting some first-team reps. I think that we knew that Tarvarius Moore was coming because he was coming off an Achilles injury, right? So OTAs, he wasn't up to speed yet. He wasn't going to be starting training camp with the ones. What I will say is that all three safeties are going to play. D'Amico Ryans is really good at that, at implementing those three safety sets. So regardless of who wins the battle, opposite Jimmy Ward, Hufanga, or Moore, I think you're going to see both of those guys contribute, just like Hufanga contributed as the 49ers' third safety last season. I agree. Tarvarius Moore is underrated. Watch out for T. Moore. I mean, the guy can fly once he gets that full explosiveness back for 340. His daughter was born in this offseason. Congratulations to him. Tarvarius Moore, just a good dude. I talked to him a lot. He's a good guy, humble, hell of an athlete, has you're really just been a cog of the 49ers system for a while now. Remember, he started out as a cornerback. They tried to move him from safety at Southern Miss to cornerback. He was Nick Mullen's teammate actually at Southern Miss. Moved the corner, then they're like, nah, no, this guy needs to be a safety. Moved him back, and he people forget that he logged a interception in the Super Bowl. So Tarvarius Moore is legit, and people tend to forget that is Darqueze Dennard's favorite line. He says that a lot. I wrote about Darqueze Dennard the other day. I'm opening this up on The Athletic. This is one that you're going to want to check out. How Darqueze Dennard's 18 clutch snaps helped forge the 49ers nickelback outlook. This was against the Rams. They signed Dennard off the street or off his couch after he got cut from the Giants, and he came in and covered Cooper Kupp. And Matthew Stafford, it seemed that he was afraid to throw Kupp's way when Dennard was covering him. That was really something special in that game. So check out this piece on Darqueze Dennard because he's the leader in the clubhouse to start for the 49ers at nickelback. And this guy, former first-round draft pick in 2014, speaking of a stud, I mean, this guy can do it. 2014 rookie class, by the way. That's back when Kyle Shanahan was in Cleveland. And when Kyle Shanahan was in Cleveland in 2014, guess who one of his receivers was? This is some cool trivia, and it relates to a 49ers workout today. Willie Snead was one of Kyle Shanahan's receivers back in 2014 when he was the offensive coordinator at Cleveland. Now, Snead didn't make the team, but he had a nice camp and a nice preseason. It was an undrafted free agent. And then he had a nice NFL career after that, right? We saw him with the Ravens, had a few nice years. Well, Willie Snead worked out with the 49ers today, and they might sign him. We'll see. Other 49ers news. I should take off this Tarvarius Moore banner. Let's take this one off the screen. Trevor Marks. Good question, but I can't keep that up there forever. Jalen Moore, 49ers offensive lineman, second-year man. He has got a leg strain. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. So the 49ers worked out 3 offensive linemen yesterday. They also worked out a quarterback, and they worked out Willie Snead. And that's been happening over the course of these 2 days. I think Snead was today. So the 49ers with Jalen Moore hurt right now. He's still on the roster and everything. He's still taking up a spot. But with Taser Mack being waived, that also happened today. They have 2 roster spots. So they're working out these linemen. They're probably going to have to sign one of those guys because they want to make sure they're spruced up. They have enough bodies to get through camp on that front. And then we'll see what that second position is like that they sign because they have 2 spots on a 90-man roster. And it might be Willie Snead. And that'd be an intriguing veteran wide receiver pickup. He's still 29 years old. So Snead might still have some gas left in the tank. And the 49ers are using the workout to evaluate whether or not that's the case. Is the 49ers defense better this year than in 2019? That's a great question. Well, they have a lot of questions to answer, but I think they're on a good track. Can Darqueze Dennard, pictured on your screen, fill in for K'Wan Williams, who left to Denver in free agency? If yes, the 49ers have taken a step in the right direction. Charvarius Ward is a corner in his prime. That guy's sticky. That guy might come on a YouTube channel at some point. I think he's interested, by the way. So maybe we talk to Charvarius Ward on here. If you're watching right now, let me know, Charvarius. Mooney's what they call him. Yeah, I mean, he's a good corner. I mean, he's been all over the field during training camp. Emmanuel Mosley's a lot better than he was in 2019. Jason Verrett, I mean, the secondary as a whole, they're so deep. They're so good. If that pass rush can find anything opposite Nick Bosa, and if Javon Kinlaw can be the hinge point that we think he could be, yes, this defense can be better than 2019. In fact, today, Tarvarius Moore said he's getting 2019 vibes from this 49ers defense. Big Timer 21, where are you at? Yeah, I see that. Big Timer 21. If Ayuk has a top 5 year, will the 49ers be in cap trouble signing Ayuk and Bosa to extension at the same time? Keep up the good work. Thank you, Big Timer 21. I don't think so because with the Jimmy money that they're set to free up and the cap exploding, the 49ers have actually given themselves some runway to re-sign more core players. The goal is to re-sign guys who excel for you. And obviously, Debo just got his bag. Nick Bosa is set to get his bag next year. And they want to keep on carving out room to let that star core that they re-sign have that room to fit under the salary cap for them. So I don't think it's going to be an issue for the 49ers because of this Jimmy Garoppolo transaction. I think that was a big part of the thinking with the Jimmy Garoppolo potential transaction because it hasn't happened yet, because you clear up $24.2 million in space that you can use in the future. It's going to roll over into next year. Sansom Hebucom going for 10.5 sacks this season, says Mr. Corey. That'd be crazy. If he has 10.5 sacks, the 49ers will win the Super Bowl in a blowout. I'm calling it right now. If Sansom Hebucom has that many sacks, they're blowing their way out to the Super Bowl. Hell, they might go undefeated if Hebucom has 10.5 sacks. Just imagine. It'll be impossible to score on this defense if he has 10.5 sacks, because you're not even accounting for what Bosa will have been doing then. That will also have meant that Javon Kinlaw is doing his job on the inside. The secondary will be feasting. I mean, if they hit that number, they're going to be in good shape this season. Hit the like if you like beers. So that's a good one. It's happy hour on Friday. Yeah, it's happy hour. Hit the like if you like beers. Not bad. I like beer. But I can't hit the like because I have StreamYard open. I don't have YouTube open. Okay. Do I think that Brandon Ayuk is going to be better than Deebo Samuel this year? They're different players. They're both showing out in training camp. Like Deebo did last year, Brandon is this year, but they're such different players. They're complementary. Deebo is a bull at a china shop. 220 pounds. Brandon Ayuk, he's more of your prototypical wideout, right? What you think about when you think about a man-beating wideout. So they're different players. I'll have to say apples and oranges for that one. We just need Kinlaw to stop the run and occupy double teams so the linebackers can eat, says Kali Young. Yes, sir. It's exactly what the 49ers need. And Kinlaw's been feeling good. Maybe get Kinlaw on at some point. Javon Kinlaw took the day off today. Well, I mean, he didn't take it off today. That's just his ramp-up schedule, but he's looking light on his feet, feeling healthy. I'm excited to see him play football for the 49ers this season. How much of an impact do you think Jauan Jennings will have this year? Well, Jauan Jennings had a good day today. I thought one of the most impressive plays of practice today was Sudfeld delivering to Jennings 20 yards downfield. That's a tough play when you know you're going to get popped by the safety. Tarvarius Moore popped Jauan Jennings. He held onto the football. Gamer makes that type of play. And to me, it was significant because Jauan had like a week-long rough stretch there where he wasn't holding on the footballs the way that I was used to him holding on the balls, right? He had that one in the end zone. There were Dante Johnson hit him that got knocked out. He had one, both of these were from Lance, and one-on-ones that got wrestled away by Ambry Thomas. Good play for Ambry, who finally won at the point of contact, point of attack there, but point of the catch, I guess I should say. But Jauan Jennings, I thought, needed this nice day to kind of get that groove back. So I do think he'll have an impact because he's a really good run blocker. He's a dog out there. You know, you talk about the dog days of summer. Jauan Jennings is a dog. Brandon Ayuk is a dog. And dog is a compliment now. It used to not be a compliment, but now it's a compliment all of a sudden. So I think he's a good number 3 for the 49ers. All right. All right, guys. Good stuff today. Corey Monroe points out 400 people watching and only 90 likes. I guess that's not good. That's not a good ratio. I never pay attention to this stuff, but you guys talk about it a lot in the comment section. So, yeah, Corey Monroe is right. Why don't I just sit here until we get more likes on there? I have 420 viewers right now and 100 likes? I don't know. I don't see it. So get the likes rolling. And I guess that's good for the algorithm. And if you want the channel to do well, then the algorithm has to do well on top of that. All right, guys. Thank you so much, though. This is a fun Friday happy hour. I think that today is going to be a burrito night for me because I've got to be back out at the team facility tomorrow. This is a question. Would it make more sense to keep Jimmy as a backup? If Jimmy wants to be the backup for a lesser price, then sure. I don't think Jimmy wants to do that. I think Jimmy's a starting quarterback in this league. So, I mean, both sides would have to want that unless you say you're okay with paying Jimmy Garoppolo $27 million or $24 million right now is what's remaining to be that backup. You'd have to keep him at the same contract. He's got to be willing to renegotiate his deal. If you don't want him to play backup at an expensive price. Now, again, right now, Jimmy Garoppolo is just a very high profile standoffish insurance option, right? Because he's not doing anything with the team. He's just there throwing off on the side in case Trey gets hurt, in case something happens. Well, you still have Jimmy under contract. You could still turn to that. but they're still trying to trade him. They just can't find that partner yet. We're waiting on the Cleveland situation. That one seems that it might make sense if Deshaun Watson suspended, but I think Garoppolo would only make sense to keep around if it was at a lower salary, because part of the 49ers long-term plan is saving at least a large chunk of that $24 million so you can extend some other guys moving forward. Yep, dogs, not dog, D-A-W-G. See, a dog, that's bad if you call somebody a dog. But D-A-W-G, D-O-G, dog, that means you're dogging it. But D-A-W-G, that means that you're that you're part of the club. Now, if you look at Darquez Dennard, he showed me his dog bone necklace the other day. So it's little miniature dog bones, really cool. And he said that's to remind me I got some dog in me. And also, I guess the Michigan State guys, they like to go Spartan dog, D-A-W-G though, not D-O-G. That is an important distinction. David, what's your favorite burger? Homemade, of course. So I like grilling it myself. I like putting some American cheese on it, double cheeseburger, American cheese, and avocado. And I make it juicy enough. No ketchup or sauce is needed. Two nice patties, American cheese. It might be disgusting as far as how they make it, but there's something old-fashioned about it that it just sings with a burger, right? Just absolutely sings with a burger. So that is my favorite burger. Now, my favorite sandwich is this one right here from Fambrini's Cafe in Palo Alto. Got to find it here for you guys. Share a video file. I put this up yesterday, but I know a lot of you weren't watching yesterday. It was a quieter day. This is the Chimichurri Surf and Turf from Fambrini's in Palo Alto. I know this is the food segue, so I'm putting this up here just so you guys know where to go eat in the Bay Area. Fambrini's, Palo Alto. I believe they're open on the weekends now. That's shrimp, tri-tip, chimichurri sauce. I add avocado to it. Tell them that I sent you when you go there. Seriously. When you go get this sandwich from Fambrini's Cafe in Palo Alto, tell them that I sent you. They're going to be really happy. This place is legit. Just check to make sure it's open on Google before you head over there. Yeah, too bad that one of you is in DC. It is a monster sandwich, but not a good time to be in DC when I just made you hungry with that sandwich. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know where I put my my article, but go ahead and check that out. All right. I don't know if I should stay online. What do you guys think? I gotta attend to my camera issues here. I know that thing is my focus on this camera. On the camo software on this camera is not what it should be. So I got to fix that. Since you're bringing up food, you know what I'm going to ask you, David. What I'm having for dinner? I'm having a burrito for dinner. I had that sandwich for lunch. Back in my prime, before I was 34, I could do that sandwich a few times a week. Now it's probably a 1 or maybe 2 times a week sandwich. But they take care of me there at Fambrini's. Awesome spot. How is the 49ers running backs room looking? Asks Jason. I think it looks pretty good. Ty Davis Price is big. The preseason game is going to be fun. That's next Friday because I'm one of those guys. Ty Davis Price had a nice pass protection rep against Fred Warner today in one-on-ones, but I got to see the backs be tackled to the ground to see how good they are, how much dog they have in them as a runner. That's going to be that's next Friday. This time next Friday, those questions are going to be being answered. There's a 5:30 Pacific kickoff. It's 6:13 Pacific right now. So in a week from now, good stuff is going to be happening out on the field against the Packers at Levi Stadium. We're going to be watching those running backs closely. You think the 49ers will run more 4-wide sets with Trey than they ran with Jimmy? Yeah, they might because they have Danny Gray now. I think that's the main reason. It's not the QB. It's the receiving arsenal they have now. They have that deep threat stretch guy, Danny Gray. So I could see them running Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and Danny Gray. Or you could swap in Jennings there for one of those guys. But I could see them running 4 wide sets just because of Danny Gray and his ability to stretch the field. Danny's having beef stroganoff. Nice. Yeah, regular season's still over a month away, which is crazy. It's August 5th, and that doesn't start till September 11th. It's a long time. You can have that bye week over Labor Day weekend. That's going to be nuts as well. All right, while all of you are up here, make sure you subscribe to The Athletic, sub to this channel, seriously, like the video, set those notifications. And, I've been saying this, follow along on Twitter, Lombardi himself, follow along on Instagram, Lombardi himself, both Instagram and Twitter, both of these suckers. Get on those. I know there's a lot of you on. I'm taking a lot of time out of my Friday here. I love doing this for you guys, but we might as well just make the network, right, as robust as possible, because that allows you to digest the 49ers coverage in a way that you've never had before. By the way, today you got to see this. You got to see Deebo Samuel almost run me over. This is the kind of 49ers coverage that we have on this channel. There's Deebo. There's me getting out of the way. You don't see me, but Deebo, I mean, that guy's a truck. You don't want to get hit by 220 pounds moving at that kind of speed. Any more questions? Who will be running back number 2? There's going to be like 4 running backs. I wouldn't divide it up into 1, 2, 3, 4. It might be Sermon, might be Wilson. They're going to try to give guys a fairly split load this year beyond one. I think one's going to have a bit more of the load, probably Elijah Mitchell, but everybody's in play, including Jordan Mason, the undrafted free agent out of Georgia Tech, because he's a triple option running back. So that's not going to be that tough to translate into an outside zone system, that triple option with George Mason. So with Jordan Mason, George Mason is a basketball school, not George Mason. Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech. So look out for him, because I think he's going to be a player at 220, 225 pounds that could make a dent in opposing defenses this year. DGX915 wants to bring out the black uniforms. I don't know if I agree with you, but maybe some people in the comment section agree with you. I think some people disagree with you. Who knows? Any good news about the O-line? I think Spencer Burford looks solid. McGlinchey's working back full-time. Trent Williams is always good news for an offensive line. Aaron Banks, talked to him today. Aaron Banks' body looks good. In the video that I was just playing up on the screen, you see Brunskill and Trey Lance working on some snaps after practice. Brunskill, who knows? That might be the favorite for the center position. It's either him or Brendel. Seems like Brunskill's getting more and more time with the first team as camp goes along, and he's focusing on center. So I know he already has experience at right guard and center, but he's focusing on center during this camp. All right, guys, I have to go do a couple things right now. So thank you so much for joining the show. Remember, follow along on Twitter, sub to The Athletic, sub to the channel, though. Hit that sub button right now. It's been a long show, 52 plus minutes. Good times all around. Trey Lance and the 49ers offense bounces back. I'll be back out on the practice field tomorrow, so that's another reason for you to loop in here on YouTube. I do the report coming off the practice field, and I'll have a whole bunch more content for you over this glorious weekend. All right, everybody take care. Thanks again.